everyone, it's Darby with rejoiceandcreate.com, and I have this project for you today. It's a sweet little Mother's Day gift, and what it is a tea folder. Now I have 2 bags in there. You can fit up to 4 bags of this size tea, maybe 2 or 3 bags of tea that's a little bit thicker. And this tea bag is about 2 5/8 by 3 1/8, and the inside of the box is 3 inches by 3 1/2 inches. So you actually could fit a gift card if you wanted to glue dot it to the inside of the top. But how it closes is you close that top box over the bottom box and then simply slide this under there to close it. And it makes a very sweet little gift. What you will need for this is a piece of cardstock that is 8 1/2 inches by 4 inches. You'll need 2 pieces of designer series paper that are 4 by 4 1/2 inches. And I'm using the Delightful Daisy, so I'm using the Night of Navy cardstock. For the sentiment layer, I have the second largest stitched circle framelit, and I cut 2 of them because I sandwiched the doily between them for a little bit more stiffness. I have a silver doily as well. And on this time, because it's the Delightful Daisy, I will still use the Blossom Bunch Punch to create some, but I'll do that out of white, and then I'll put some yellow centers in them using some of the glitter enamel dots. The only other thing I need is the 3rd largest oval, the same color as the cardstock, because this is what will reinforce the latch with. And then I'll use a little bit of the Night of Navy crinkled seam binding ribbon. Alright, let's get scoring. Okay, we're going to start with the 8 1/2 by 4 inch cardstock, and we'll score it at 3, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 3 3/4. So we have 4 score lines, about 4 score lines 1/4 of an inch apart. Then we'll score it also at 6 3/4, 7. Did I do that one? Oh, I jumped the track on that one. 7. So 6 3/4, 7, 7 1/4, and 7 1/2. Again, 4 score lines, and you have 3 1/4 inch segments. All right, we'll set that aside for the moment. Now we'll take our 4 by 4 1/2 pieces of designer series paper, and we're just going to simply score that at 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Alright, so we'll start with the DSP. Go ahead and fold and burnish all the score lines. We'll do the same with our cardstock. Now when you fold these, just keep making sure that your edges are all lined up as you fold them over, because they're rather narrow scores. Now for this one, what I did for this side was I just used a decorative corner punch on the corners. And I'm using an old one, but I know there's a newer one coming out, but I'm going to go ahead and use this one. Alright, so that's ready for us. Now let's get our boxes ready. Alright, so holding it in portrait with the shorter side to you, just go ahead and cut up the score lines and slightly notch all the way around on both of them. All right, and then I'm simply going to use some Tombow Extreme and glue it together. Now I put this pattern out because when I open the tea box, or when the tea box is closed, when the tea folder is closed, this daisy pattern is the pattern that they'll see. And just be careful of your little tabs, because they could tear off if you're too rough with them. All right, and let's go ahead and line up the corners and stick them together. Okay, now so they will fold into each other, what we're going to do is take the end and pinch the corners in and fold that end in. And what we're making is more kind of like a shirt box. If you've purchased the shirts, they have two size boxes that are exactly the same, but because of the way you bend it down, they actually will fit into each other. So once I got that down, I'm just going to flip that little triangle over on each corner. That just will make it flexible enough to fold into the other box. All right. Now we're going to do the same thing with this time, but we don't need to flip those little corners because this one will go on top. See, it just gives you that little diagonal score line without having to measure it all out. All right, so the one we flip the corners over is going to go on the bottom. Now the 3-inch panel will be on your left, and the ones we corner rounded will be on your right. Now right in the center here is 3 inches, so we're going to set that, we're going to center it from top to bottom, and we're going to set it right in between those two inside score lines. So what I'm going to use is a little Tombow, give me a little bit of wiggle room while we're working on it. All right, go ahead and push that down. All right, now to line up the top one, we just go ahead and set that on top. Push those corners in, set it down on top, and we'll use some Tombow on that. And we're just going to lay this over so that this edge is just over that box. Now because of your 3 score lines or 4 score lines that are 1/4 of an inch apart, that will lay right over the top like that. All right, so let's pull that off and we'll push that in really well. All right, we'll go ahead and let that dry for a minute while we stamp our sentiment. And I'll go ahead and use one of the circles. And I'm going to use some Night of Navy. All right, let me go ahead and stamp my Happy Mother's Day. And this is from Tailored Expressions, stamp Simply Stated Tulips. And let me go ahead and get that upright in the top corner because I'm going to put some flowers around it. I've used the triple leaf punch to punch out some leaves from, actually I was going to use old olive cardstock, but then I saw I had a piece of the Color Theory Designer Series paper, and I punched it out of there because it had a nice texture to the one that I had. And the last thing that we'll need to put this together is our ribbon. So I'm going to go ahead and glue our ribbon together. Actually, I'm going to put a strip of Tombow Extreme, and I'll just make a little bit of a loop over on itself. And that's what I'm going to use to pull off from. Now I'll go ahead and measure that, so I will just cut off right where I don't need it anymore. Should have used my ribbon scissors, but that's okay, it'll be hidden. In order to secure the ribbon, I have my oval. It's my stitch shape oval, and I'm just going to fold it in half and burnish it. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our ribbon on here, and I'm going to put it right in the center. Let me move this out of the way while it dries. Oops, hope I just mirror it. Alright, so let's put some glue right here in the center for the ribbon, and we'll put that edge right up to that edge. And then we're going to sandwich that whole thing with this oval. And that'll reinforce that edge as it sticks underneath the little latch, the sentiment that we're using as a latch. Alright, so go ahead and just center it top to bottom and tuck that score line right down on that fold line or the edge of the paper, and just really well, burnish it really well so it sticks together. Let's go ahead and turn that over. Alright. Now the seam binding is not that thick, so it sits down really nicely. Some of the thicker ribbons you might need to, certainly let that dry a little bit longer before we do this. Alright, so let's go ahead and put our box together. And now we know right where we need to put our sentiment. Let me just make sure these guys roll well. Alright, so next let's go ahead and prepare this part of it. So I'm going to put that one down, put some glue on it, and I'm going to glue the doily to the top of it. And this kind of reinforces the doily, because the doily itself, when you open and close it, you do have to kind of be careful of it. Alright, let's get that. Trying to center that right in the middle of it. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and take this one and center it on the front. If you don't wish to use a doily, you could use a larger stitch circle framelit, the largest one, to go ahead and give it some strength. Alright, so how I line this up is I just put some dimensionals or some foam tape right at the edge of where this flap goes. And I made sure I tried to get it right in the middle, so when I put this on there, they'd all be covered. Okay, so it's right down where the Happy Mother's Day is, and let me see. Now I'll put some over here on this side of my sentiment. Alright, now I'll go ahead and line that up. I'll center it on my folder and push it on. Okay, so now you have this, it opens up, and you can kind of roll that a little bit so you can get this under. You can roll that a little bit so it goes under a little bit easier. Alright, now let's do some decorating. So I've got my Blossom Bunch Builder, or Blossom Bunch Punch. I'll punch out a few times, so I have some nice flowers to choose from. I'll find a place to tuck this under the corner here. And I just cut the stem a little bit on this one so I can kind of put them out from the where I'm going to put the flowers. And I'll put one right there. Okay, now I'm just going to prepare my little flowers. Sorry, I'm just going to give them a little curve, especially the smaller ones. I like to have them cupped up a bit. All right. And let's go ahead and match some of these to the size. So that's our project today, a cute tea bag folder. And it has just an easy latch that opens up and the little tea bags go into each other, the little boxes go into each other, and then you just simply slide it back under your sentiment. It makes a very sweet gift, especially for Mother's Day, but really for teachers or friends, anyone who loves to have a cup of tea. So I hope you enjoyed the project today. If you need any more information, please go to rejoiceandcreate.com. And as always, until we meet again, I hope your days are blessed. Bye!